In the golden age of invention, one name illuminated the world: Thomas Alva Edison. Revered as the Wizard of Menlo Park, Edison's genius sparked a revolution that reshaped modern civilization. From the electric light bulb to the phonograph, his creations transformed daily life and bridged the gap between science and society. But beyond the public acclaim lies a complex man driven by relentless curiosity, tireless woe, humble beginnings. 1847-1862. A child born to curiosity. On the 11th of February, 1847, in the quiet town of Milan, Ohio, a boy was born who would one day change the world. Thomas Alva Edison came into a world lit by candlelight and oil lamps, a world that had no concept of recorded sound, movies, or electricity on demand. No one could have imagined that this boy, the seventh and last child of Samuel and Nancy Edison, would go on to be hailed as one of the greatest inventors in history. Thomas was curious from the start. His mind never rested. Even as a toddler, he was always asking questions, sometimes too many for the adults around him. His mother, Nancy, was a former schoolteacher and quickly realized that her son had a different kind of intelligence. He wasn't slow, as some thought. He was simply wired differently. School days that didn't last. Edison's formal education was brief. After only 3 months in school, his teacher labeled him addled, mentally slow, because he asked too many questions and couldn't follow traditional classroom instruction. Outraged, Nancy Edison pulled Thomas out of school and decided to homeschool him. Under his mother's patient guidance, Edison developed a deep love for reading and learning. He devoured books on science, chemistry, and mechanics. He read the likes of Isaac Newton and Michael Faraday, not just for homework, but for pleasure. He wasn't learning through lectures and rote memorization. He was experimenting and observing, traits that would define his future career. A budding entrepreneur, the newsboy inventor. At the age of 12, Edison began selling newspapers and snacks on the Grand Trunk Railroad line between Port Huron and Detroit. But he didn't just sell papers. He read them, analyzed them, and even started his own publication, the Grand Trunk Herald, which he printed in the baggage car using a second-hand printing press. He also set up a small chemistry lab in the baggage car, where he conducted experiments between stops. The conductor didn't mind until one of Edison's chemicals caused a small fire. He was promptly kicked off the train, and his chemical experiments had to continue at home. The tragic gift of silence. Edison began to lose his hearing around the age of 12. By his teens, he was almost completely deaf in both ears. Some say it was the result of a conductor boxing his ears after the baggage car fire incident. Others point to a bout of scarlet fever or a genetic condition. Rather than seeing his deafness as a limitation, Edison embraced it. He claimed it helped him focus and reduce distractions. Later in life, he famously said that his partial deafness allowed him to concentrate more deeply on his work. "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Thomas Edison. The first spark of genius, 1860, 1876. Telegraphy and the road to invention. Edison's first real job was as a telegraph operator. He had taught himself Morse code and how telegraphy worked, often practicing for hours. In 1862, after saving a young boy from being hit by a train, the boy's grateful father, a station agent, taught Edison how to operate a telegraph. Over the next few years, Edison worked as a tramp telegrapher, moving from city to city across the U.S. and Canada. He became obsessed with improving telegraphic technology, working at night and experimenting during the day. The first patent, the vote recorder, 1869. In 1869, Edison moved to New York City and later obtained his first patent for an electric vote recorder, a device meant to help legislative bodies vote more efficiently. Unfortunately, no one wanted it. Legislators didn't want fast votes. Delays gave them time to negotiate. This rejection was a turning point for Edison. He realized that inventions had to fulfill a market demand, not just be technologically innovative. Anything that won't sell, I don't want to invent. Edison, Menlo Park, the first industrial research lab. In 1876, Edison established his first major research facility in Menlo Park, New Jersey. This was the world's first industrial research laboratory, a place where inventors, scientists, and engineers worked side by side. It was here that Edison would achieve his greatest successes. The lab was open 24/7. Edison himself often slept on a cot in the corner, working for days without rest. Menlo Park became synonymous with invention, and its founder soon earned the nickname the Wizard of Menlo Park. Breakthroughs that changed the world, 1877-1882. 1. The phonograph. A talking machine, 1877. In the fall of 1877, Edison made a discovery that would shock the world. While experimenting with a method to record telegraph messages, he conceived a revolutionary idea: what if human sound could be recorded and played back? By the 6th of December, 1877, Edison and his assistant John Cruesi completed the first phonograph prototype. It used a stylus to etch sound vibrations onto a tinfoil-covered cylinder. When Edison recited the nursery rhyme, "Mary Had a Little Lamb," and the machine repeated it back, he and his team were stunned. "I was never so taken aback in my life. I was always afraid of things that worked the first time." Thomas Edison. The phonograph was not just a curiosity. It was the first device in history that could record and reproduce sound. It made Edison internationally famous. Newspapers dubbed him the Napoleon of invention. It was his favorite creation. 2. Chasing the light. The electric bulb, 1878-1879. Although electric light had been demonstrated by other inventors before Edison, none had developed a practical and affordable system for homes and businesses. That was the challenge Edison took upon himself in 1878. Backed by financier J.P. Morgan and the Vanderbilt family, Edison set out to invent a complete electric lighting system, not just the bulb, but also the wiring, switches, generators, and infrastructure. The filament problem. The key problem was finding the right filament, the material inside the bulb that would glow without burning out too quickly. Edison and his team tested over 6,000 different substances, from bamboo to platinum to horsehair. In October 1879, they found the solution: carbonized bamboo filament. On New Year's Eve, 1879, Edison publicly unveiled his successful incandescent light bulb at Menlo Park. It burned brightly for over 13 hours. He had done it. "We will make electricity so cheap that only the rich will burn candles." Thomas Edison. 3. The battle of systems. Direct current versus alternating current. Edison's electric system was based on direct current, DC, which he saw as safe and reliable. However, it had a serious flaw: DC couldn't travel long distances efficiently. This gave rise to the famous War of Currents, as Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse promoted alternating current, AC, which could be transmitted over miles with fewer losses. Edison launched a smear campaign to discredit AC, even participating in public electrocutions of animals to show its dangers. He also helped design the first electric chair using AC, hoping to associate it with death. Despite his efforts, AC eventually won the war. Still, Edison's DC systems paved the way for modern electrical infrastructure. 4. Lighting New York City, 1882. On the 4th of September, 1882, Edison flipped the switch on the world's first central electric power station on Pearl Street in Lower Manhattan, New York. It powered 400 lamps in 85 buildings using steam-powered DC generators. Though primitive by today's standards, it was a milestone in human history, the birth of the electric utility industry. Edison's lighting system transformed the night, extended working hours, and ushered in a new age of productivity and comfort. 5. Expanding the empire. Edison Electric and General Electric. To commercialize his electric inventions, Edison formed Edison Electric Light Company, which later merged with other companies to become General Electric, GE, in 1892. Today, GE is one of the largest companies in the world, a lasting monument to Edison's industrial vision. 6. A tireless worker, a relentless spirit. Edison was known for working around the clock. He often took short naps instead of sleeping through the night. He called sleep a waste of time. His assistants sometimes struggled to keep up with his pace. He kept dozens of notebooks, recording every idea, every test, and every failure. If something didn't work, he would try again and again until it did. Failure didn't discourage him. It motivated him. His work ethic was unmatched. He demanded the same energy from his team. While some criticized him for overworking others, many of his assistants later became accomplished inventors themselves. 7. Not a theorist, but a practical genius. Unlike many scientists of his time, Edison had little use for theory. He once said, "I can always hire mathematicians, but they can't hire me." He was a tinkerer, a doer, a man who believed that progress came from trial and error. He admitted he was not good at higher math, but he didn't let that stop him. What set Edison apart was his ability to bring inventions to market. He understood business, manufacturing, and public appeal. He wasn't just a brilliant mind, he was a visionary industrialist. 8. Personal traits and personality. Edison was hard-headed. He could be stubborn and opinionated, charming. He was known to be humorous and personable in conversation. Optimistic. He always believed in the possible. Focused. He once said he could block out all sounds when concentrating even gunfire. Despite his fame, he was relatively modest, often dressing plainly and avoiding lavish lifestyles. The Expanding Legacy, 1883-1899. Beyond Light. Diversifying invention. After revolutionizing sound and light, Edison set his sights on diversifying his inventions. The 1882nd and 1892nd were a prolific period during which he explored new industries, patented hundreds of inventions, and expanded his influence far beyond Menlo Park. He continued to lead research in phonographs and lighting, but also entered new fields such as mining, motion pictures, telecommunications, cement production, and battery technology. Edison's laboratory moves to West Orange, 1887. As his ambitions grew, Edison required a larger, more advanced facility. In 1887, he established a new research complex in West Orange, New Jersey, which became one of the best-equipped labs in the world at the time. The West Orange lab spanned several buildings, including machine shops, libraries, and chemistry labs. It employed over 200 workers at its peak. It was here that Edison would develop many of his late-career innovations, especially in motion pictures and batteries. Edison and the motion picture industry. By the late 1882nd, Edison turned his focus to the idea of moving pictures, a concept that was just beginning to take shape. He worked with William Kennedy, Laurie Dixon, one of his top assistants, to invent a device that could capture and display motion. The kinetoscope, 1891. The result was the kinetoscope, a peephole viewing machine that allowed a single person to watch a short film. The first public demonstration was held in 1891. The technology was crude, but it amazed the public. Soon after, Edison established Edison Studios, which produced some of the first short films in history, including Fred Ott's Sneeze, 1894, The Kiss, 1896, The Great Train Robbery, 1903, a landmark film made by a former Edison cameraman. While Edison didn't invent motion pictures outright, he played a crucial role in commercializing and shaping the early film industry. Experimenting with cement and construction, in the mid-1892, Edison turned his attention to cement production. He believed that concrete was the building material of the future. He founded the Edison Portland Cement Company in 1899, which produced durable and low-cost cement. Edison envisioned entire prefabricated concrete houses, including furniture and pianos, molded from cement. Though the idea was ahead of its time and never fully took off, Edison's cement was later used in constructing the Yankee Stadium, original 1923, U.S. military installations, roads and sidewalks across the Northeast, mining ventures, and the magnetic ore separator. In the 1892nd, Edison also tried to revolutionize the iron ore mining industry. He designed a magnetic ore separator to extract iron from low-grade ore deposits. He invested heavily in this venture, spending over $2 million, equivalent to $60 million today. Unfortunately, the technology did not succeed. The ore in the region was too impure and the cost too high. It was one of Edison's greatest failures. Yet, even in failure, Edison remained positive. "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison batteries and electric vehicles. In the late 1892, Edison saw the need for portable power. He developed a series of nickel-iron batteries, which were durable and rechargeable, a key advancement in energy storage. He believed electric vehicles were the future and even partnered with Henry Ford, a former Edison employee, to develop electric cars. Edison's batteries were eventually used in early electric cars, railway signaling systems, submarines, industrial equipment. Though gasoline-powered engines won the race, Edison's battery technology influenced the development of modern rechargeable systems. Business acumen and branding. Unlike many inventors, Edison was an astute businessman. He understood patents, licensing, marketing, and public relations. He not only invented, he sold his inventions and built businesses around them. He created numerous companies to manage his patents, including Edison General Electric Company, Edison Manufacturing Company, Edison Phonograph Works, Edison Portland Cement Company, Edison Battery Company, Edison Studios Film Production. Edison's name became synonymous with innovation and trust, and he carefully managed his public image, often using the press to highlight his breakthroughs. Personal life during these years. During this time, Edison also faced major changes in his personal life. Mary Stilwell Edison, his first wife, died in 1884. They had 3 children, Marion, Thomas Jr., and William. In 1886, Edison married Mina Miller, a woman 19 years his junior. She came from a wealthy, educated family and brought order to Edison's chaotic lifestyle. Together, they had 3 more children, Madeline, Charles, and Theodore. Mina and Thomas moved to Glenmont, a large estate in West Orange, which became Edison's home for the rest of his life. Edison was a devoted but often absent father, consumed by his work. He nicknamed his children with telegraphic shorthand, Dot and Dash. Honors and global recognition. By the late 1892, Edison was a household name across the world. He received medals, honorary degrees, and invitations to lecture. He was visited by royalty, scientists, and politicians. Mark Twain, Henry Ford, and Nikola Tesla, though later estranged, were among his contemporaries. He was viewed as a symbol of American ingenuity and self-reliance. Edison in the 20th century, 1900-1929, a new century of invention. As the 20th century dawned, Thomas Edison was already a legend. But far from slowing down, he continued inventing into his 52nd, 62nd, and 72nd. His laboratories in West Orange remained a hub of creative activity, and his curiosity never faded. The world around him was changing rapidly. Automobiles, airplanes, and radio were beginning to dominate public attention. Edison saw these developments not as threats, but as opportunities. A friendship with Henry Ford. In 1896, Edison met a young engineer named Henry Ford at an electric conference. Ford, then working for the Edison Illuminating Company in Detroit, nervously presented his design for a gasoline-powered car. To Ford's surprise, Edison supported the idea despite being deeply invested in electric power. "Young man, that's the thing. You have it. Keep at it." Edison to Henry Ford. This encouragement profoundly affected Ford. The two became lifelong friends and collaborators. Ford often credited Edison's words as the motivation behind the creation of the Model T and the Ford Motor Company. In later years, Ford built a replica of Edison's Menlo Park laboratory in Greenfield Village, Michigan, to honor his mentor. The two men vacationed together, worked on battery projects, and were often photographed side by side. The Edison-Ford camping trips. Edison, Ford, and a few other notable friends, including tire magnate Harvey Firestone and naturalist John Burroughs, embarked on a series of famous camping trips in the 1,910 and 1,920. They called themselves the Vagabonds. These outings, covered by newspapers and magazines, showed Edison in a new light, not just as an inventor, but as an outdoorsman and philosopher. Edison often tinkered with camping gear, helped design portable kitchens, and debated science and philosophy around campfires. Later, inventions and final patents. Even in his later years, Edison remained prolific. Among his late career inventions were improvements to alkaline batteries, voice-activated phonograph devices, cement furniture and housing systems, methods for preserving fruit and vegetables, an early version of synthetic rubber. During World War I shortages, by the time of his death, Edison had accumulated a record-breaking 1,093 U.S. patents and over 2,300 patents worldwide. He remained active in his lab until his final years, often testing, experimenting, and refining ideas long after others had retired. Rivalry and reconciliation with Nikola Tesla. Edison's relationship with Nikola Tesla is one of the most discussed rivalries in science history. In the 1882nd, Tesla briefly worked for Edison and proposed using alternating current, AC, instead of Edison's preferred direct current, DC. Edison, skeptical and fiercely loyal to DC, dismissed Tesla's ideas, which led to Tesla leaving the company. The war of currents that followed was intense, with Edison going as far as publicly electing animals using AC to show its dangers. However, in their later years, the tone softened. While they never reconciled personally, both men acknowledged each other's brilliance. Tesla, despite criticizing Edison's methods, later said, "He had no hobby, cared for no amusement of any kind, and lived in utter disregard of the most elementary rules of hygiene. His method was inefficient in the extreme, for an immense ground had to be covered to get anything at all unless blind chance intervened. But in invention, Edison was like a field general who follows every avenue to find the enemy." It was an honest, if backhanded, acknowledgment of Edison's determination. Contributions to World War I. During World War I, Edison was appointed head of the U.S. Naval Consulting Board. Though not a supporter of war, he believed in using science for defense. He worked on several military projects, including submarine detection systems, torpedo design improvements, flamethrower technology, chemical warfare protections. He also advocated for an independent American technology industry to reduce reliance on foreign materials and inventions. By the 1922nd, Edison had become a symbol of American progress. He received countless honors, including the Congressional Gold Medal, 1928, honorary doctorates from Princeton and other universities, membership in prestigious academies and scientific societies. Edison was interviewed on radio, filmed in documentaries, and quoted in textbooks. His name became a brand of innovation. Countries around the world studied his methods, and schools used his story to inspire future generations of scientists and engineers. Despite his fame, Edison remained humble and curious until the end. He was fond of simple foods, preferred plain clothes, and disliked extravagance. He continued to write in notebooks daily, recording ideas, reflections, and questions. He remained devoted to his wife Mina and enjoyed visits from his children and grandchildren. He also became interested in spirituality, even experimenting with devices to communicate with the dead, though with scientific skepticism. Edison once said, "It is very beautiful over there," referring to the afterlife. Final years and death, 1930-1931. A nation in mourning and Edison's immortal legacy, slowing down but never stopping. By 1930, Thomas Edison was 83 years old. His health was visibly declining. Decades of intense labor, exposure to chemicals, and long nights had taken a toll on his body. But Edison, ever the inventor, refused to fully retire. Even in his advanced age, he made regular visits to his West Orange lab, experimenting with projects ranging from domestic energy systems to plant-based plastics. Although he no longer filed patents at the previous rate, Edison remained deeply involved in overseeing experiments, mentoring young researchers, and writing in his notebooks. His handwriting had become more shaky, but his curiosity never wavered. The last invention attempts. Even in his final years, Edison was captivated by ideas that were ahead of their time. Synthetic rubber. With global tensions rising and natural rubber supplies at risk, Edison experimented with goldenrod and other plants to produce a domestic source of rubber. Alternative fuels. He continued research into efficient battery systems for transportation and storage. Spiritual communication. Rumors, which Edison neither confirmed nor denied, suggested that he was working on a spirit phone to detect communication from the afterlife. Though possibly satirical or misunderstood, the story added to the myth of his boundless curiosity. Last public appearances. One of Edison's final public appearances was during the 50th anniversary of the electric light bulb, held in 1929. The celebration was attended by U.S. President Herbert Hoover, Henry Ford, and Harvey Firestone. Henry Ford had rebuilt Edison's original Menlo Park laboratory brick by brick at Greenfield Village, Michigan, and invited Edison to reenact the famous moment when he had created light. Though weakened, Edison participated with joy. He gave a speech to thousands, reflecting on his journey. The ceremony was broadcast nationwide and symbolically reaffirmed Edison's place as a national hero. Ford wept as Edison flipped the symbolic switch for the recreated bulb. It was a moment America would never forget. The final days. Edison's health began to fail seriously in mid-1931. He suffered from chronic kidney problems, diabetes, and gastrointestinal complications. He was moved to his bedroom in Glenmont, his family estate in West Orange, New Jersey. There, surrounded by family and physicians, he spent his final days receiving visitors and dictating final notes. His last weeks were marked by quiet reflection. He reportedly remained mentally sharp, occasionally joking, sketching ideas, and asking questions about ongoing experiments. Edison's last words. On the 18th of October, 1931, Thomas Alva Edison passed away at the age of 84. His final words, whispered to his wife Mina, were poetic and mysterious. "It is very beautiful over there." The phrase would go on to be quoted in countless biographies and tributes, a fitting farewell for a man who had illuminated the world. A nation mourns. The news of Edison's death made front-page headlines around the globe. The U.S. government immediately issued a national day of mourning. President Herbert Hoover called Edison the embodiment of the American spirit of ingenuity, courage, and vision. On the 21st of October, 1931, at 10 p.m., Americans were asked to turn off their lights for 1 minute in tribute to the man who had brought light to the world. From New York to San Francisco, homes, businesses, and landmarks went dark, a collective moment of silence for the Wizard of Menlo Park. The funeral and burial. Edison's funeral was a private, deeply emotional affair, attended by family, close friends, and select dignitaries. He was buried behind his Glenmont estate, beneath a modest granite monument inscribed with his name and the years of his life. It was a quiet resting place for a man who had lit up the earth. Legacy in numbers and influence. 1,093 U.S. patents and over 2,300 foreign patents. Founded over 20 companies, including General Electric, one of the largest corporations in the world, revolutionized 6 major industries: electric light, power systems, sound recording, motion pictures, batteries, and cement. Employed and trained hundreds of inventors, many of whom went on to change the world in their own right. His inventions impacted every aspect of modern life, from entertainment to transportation to daily home appliances, institutions, and monuments. Edison, New Jersey, the town renamed in his honor, Thomas Edison National Historical Park, preserves his laboratories and residence, schools, bridges, and libraries named after Edison across the world. The Edison Medal, awarded annually for major contributions in electrical engineering. Greenfield Village, Michigan, where Ford rebuilt Menlo Park to immortalize Edison's early lab, Edison's Enduring Lessons. Edison taught the world that invention is not about sudden genius, but about persistence, experimentation, and grit. He believed that success was forged not in bursts of brilliance, but through continuous work and curiosity. His life is a blueprint for innovators, a symbol of how ordinary beginnings can lead to extraordinary change. Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. That quote, like Edison himself, endures. Posthumous legacy and cultural impact. 1931, present. A legend cemented in history. Thomas Alva Edison's death marked not an end, but a new chapter in his legacy. Even after his passing in 1931, Edison remained one of the most studied, quoted, and admired figures in modern history. Biographers, scientists, filmmakers, politicians, and educators would continue to explore the complexities of his life, his brilliance, flaws, and tenacious spirit. The very mention of Edison invokes a larger-than-life image. A man with tousled hair hunched over a lab bench, sparks flying as the gears of invention grind in his brilliant mind. Global recognition and honors. After his death, Edison was honored not just in the United States, but across the globe. Nations recognized that he had transformed modern civilization. Among the many posthumous honors, U.S. Postal Service issued multiple stamps commemorating Edison. France awarded him the title of Officer of the Legion of Honor. Japan erected statues of Edison in schools and museums, citing his use of bamboo filament. UNESCO declared Edison's lab and home part of World Heritage Sites of Innovation. His name was added to the Hall of Fame for Great Americans in the Bronx. Edison in education. Edison became a staple in American classrooms. Every school child in the U.S. learns about the boy who sold newspapers on trains, taught himself science, and invented the light bulb. His story teaches more than just scientific achievement. It's about overcoming adversity, hearing loss, rejection, poverty, perseverance, and work ethic, the importance of applied learning over rote memorization, Many schools, technical colleges, and even university science buildings were named after Edison, including Thomas Edison State University, New Jersey, Edison high schools in dozens of cities, Edison Technical Institutes that trained future engineers, Edison in pop culture and media. Edison's image appears in feature films, e.g. Edison, The Man, 1940, The Current War, 2017, documentaries including PBS, History Channel, and BBC specials, comic books, cartoons, and animated shows, television programs that praise his work or parody his personality, novels and short stories using Edison as a symbol of genius. He's also referenced in countless songs, speeches, and TED Talks. From inventors to entrepreneurs, Edison is often cited as the original startup founder. The Menlo Park Laboratory, reborn in Greenfield Village. In the 1922nd, Henry Ford, Edison's close friend, began collecting artifacts from Edison's life and reconstructing the original Menlo Park Laboratory in Dearborn, Michigan. Ford wanted future generations to experience Edison's work environment firsthand. He disassembled the original lab and moved it brick by brick down to original tools and furniture and reassembled it as part of Greenfield Village in the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation. The lab remains a pilgrimage site for innovators, scientists, and tourists alike. The Edison Medal and scientific recognition. In 1904, even before his death, the American Institute of Electrical Engineers, now IEEE, created the Edison Medal, one of the most prestigious awards in electrical engineering. Past recipients include Nikola Tesla, Alexander Graham Bell, Robert Millikan, Claude Shannon, Vannevar Bush, Gordon Moore. The medal is awarded annually for a career of meritorious achievement in electrical science, electrical engineering, or the electrical arts. It continues to reinforce Edison's position as a foundational figure in modern technology. Edison's patents in today's world. Edison's inventions planted the seeds for many modern industries. Sound recording to digital audio and music streaming, motion pictures to film industry and virtual reality, electric lighting to smart lighting and energy grids, batteries to electric vehicles and mobile technology, telegraph improvements, modern telecommunications, research laboratory model to R&D departments in every major tech company. Many of today's top firms, Apple, Tesla, GE, Samsung, and more, continue to build on foundations Edison helped establish. The Thomas Edison DNA. More than any one invention, Edison's greatest contribution was his system of innovation. Invent, improve, patent, manufacture, market. He understood how to build a bridge from imagination to implementation. He created the model for the modern inventor-entrepreneur. This system laid the groundwork for Silicon Valley startups, tech incubators and think tanks, modern research labs, e.g., Bell Labs, IBM Research, Xerox PARC, intellectual property models that drive today's innovation economy, criticism, and reappraisal. In recent decades, some critics have reevaluated Edison's legacy, pointing out his harsh treatment of employees and rivals, his aggressive use of patents and lawsuits, his resistance to alternating current, which history vindicated, his public animal electrocutions during the War of Currents. These criticisms have sparked nuanced conversations about ambition, ethics, and the cost of progress. However, even his detractors acknowledge Edison's vision, impact, and achievements as unparalleled. Edison today, still inspiring the world. Thomas Edison remains a symbol of human potential. In an age defined by smartphones, AI, space exploration, and digital revolutions, his legacy remains relevant. Entrepreneurs see him as the ultimate founder Engineers see him as a technical pioneer. Teachers use his story to ignite young minds. Futurists quote his optimism and perseverance. Historians mark him as one of the greatest minds of all time. Wherever there's a light switch, a movie screen, a music player, or a battery, there's a piece of Edison's dream. Edison's family, personal letters, and little-known stories. Edison the family man. Behind the laboratories, patents, and public acclaim, Thomas Edison was also a husband and father of 6 children from 2 marriages. His family life, though often overshadowed by his professional legacy, provides a more human portrait of the inventor. Marriage to Mary Stilwell, 1871-1884. Edison's first wife was Mary Stilwell, a 16-year-old employee at one of his early companies. They married on Christmas Day, 1871, when Edison was 24. Mary was kind-hearted and quiet, but their marriage was strained by Edison's long work hours and intense focus on his inventions. He would often sleep in the lab, leaving Mary to manage the home. They had 3 children, Marion Estelle Edison, nicknamed Dot; Thomas Alva Edison Jr., nicknamed Dash; William Leslie Edison, who later became a scientist and inventor. Mary died of illness in 1884 at the age of just 29, likely from a brain tumor or morphine overdose, a common treatment at the time. Edison was deeply affected by her death. Marriage to Mina Miller, 1886-1931. 2 years after Mary's death, Edison met Mina Miller, the daughter of a wealthy Ohio industrialist. She was educated, devoutly religious, and active in social causes. They married in 1886 and moved into a grand estate named Glenmont in West Orange, New Jersey. Mina was Edison's partner for the rest of his life. She brought structure to his personal life, managed the estate, and often entertained guests including U.S. presidents, foreign dignitaries, and fellow inventors. They had 3 children. Madeline Edison. Charles Edison later became governor of New Jersey and U.S. Secretary of the Navy. Theodore Edison became an inventor and environmentalist. Despite Edison's demanding schedule, he loved his children deeply, often communicating with them through telegraphic code and nicknames. Edison's children, successes and struggles. Edison's children had mixed experiences growing up in the shadow of a legend. Thomas Edison Jr. struggled to live up to his father's reputation. He launched questionable businesses, including pseudo-scientific electromagnetic health devices, which eventually led Edison to publicly disown his son's ventures to protect the Edison name. "My son is not a genuine Edison, and he is not entitled to use my name in business." Thomas Edison Sr. Charles Edison, by contrast, thrived. He studied at MIT, ran his father's companies, served in politics, and preserved the Edison legacy through public service and philanthropy. Edison's personal letters and thoughts. Edison was not particularly poetic or emotional in public, but his letters and private notes reveal his affection for his wives and children, his personal doubts and health struggles, philosophical musings on life, death, nature, and invention. In one letter to Mina, he wrote, "Your smile is worth more to me than all the lights I have ever made." He also kept notebooks filled with sketches, questions, failed ideas, and quotes. Some thoughts were deeply personal. The 3 great essentials to achieve anything worthwhile are hard work, stick-to-itiveness, and common sense. I am proud of the fact that I never invented weapons to kill. Little-known stories from Edison's life. Here are a few fascinating, lesser-known anecdotes that illustrate Edison's complexity. He once built a chemistry lab in his train car. At age 13, Edison was allowed to sell newspapers on a Grand Trunk Railroad train. He used the baggage compartment to build a mini laboratory and print shop. He was eventually banned after starting a fire with spilled chemicals. He rescued a station master's child. At age 14, Edison saved a 3-year-old from being hit by a runaway train. The boy's grateful father taught him telegraphy, setting Edison on his career path. He proposed with Morse code. Edison proposed to Mina Miller by tapping, "Will you marry me?" in Morse code. She replied yes, also in code. He had an intense fear of ghosts and tried to contact them. In his later years, Edison was curious about the afterlife. He reportedly tried to build a device to detect spirits, though it's unclear if he was serious or conducting a philosophical exercise. Regardless, it fueled many myths. He experimented on himself. Edison once inhaled gases during experiments to test effects on the human body. He frequently used his own body as a test subject, causing long-term health issues. He never stopped learning. Edison read 2-3 hours daily, even late in life. He was fascinated by Shakespeare, astronomy, the human brain, and botany. The Edison nap strategy. Edison believed sleep was overrated. He trained himself to take short power naps of 20-30 minutes throughout the day and night, often sleeping only 3-4 hours total per day. His cot was kept inside his lab, surrounded by metal parts and chemicals. A famous photo shows him asleep with tools in hand, as if he had nodded off mid-thought. He once said, "Sleep is a criminal waste of time and a heritage from our cave days." His method inspired future innovators, including Nikola Tesla, Leonardo da Vinci, and Winston Churchill, who adopted similar polyphasic sleep routines. Faith, beliefs, and philosophy. Edison was not religious in the conventional sense, but he believed deeply in a universal intelligence. "I do not believe in the God of the theologians, but that there is a supreme intelligence I do not doubt." He was interested in natural law, ethics, and the mystery of consciousness. He believed in science as a pathway to truth and ethics as essential to progress. He abhorred war, avoided politics, and believed technology should serve humanity, not destroy it. His final notebook entries. The final pages of Edison's personal notebooks are poignant. Scribbled ideas for lightweight batteries, sketches of plant extraction devices, a quote written in shaky script. "The object of all work is to bring light where there is darkness." These final entries showed that even at the end, his mind remained alight with curiosity. Edison's influence on modern innovators and technology. The original tech visionary, before Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, or Jeff Bezos, there was Thomas Edison, a man who blurred the lines between science, technology, business, and imagination. He was not merely a tinkerer or engineer. He was a visionary, seeing potential applications of science in ways that could reshape society. Edison established a template for what we now call the modern tech entrepreneur. Inventor with hands-on lab experience, founder of multiple startups, creator of scalable technologies, holder of intellectual property, marketer and brand strategist, team leader and innovator. His working model became the foundation of Silicon Valley's ethos. Influence on Steve Jobs and Apple. Steve Jobs frequently cited Edison as one of his greatest inspirations. Both men shared a focus on user experience, belief in integrated systems, Edison's lighting system versus Apple's ecosystem, a blend of technical invention and aesthetic design, tireless pursuit of perfection, ability to distill complexity into simplicity. Jobs once said, "Edison's greatest achievement wasn't the light bulb, it was creating an innovation factory." Apple's structure of in-house R&D, proprietary tech, and marketing mastery mirrors Edison's Menlo Park model. Elon Musk and the Edison ethos. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, embodies many Edison-like traits. Hands-on experimentation, multidisciplinary innovation, electric cars, space travel, energy systems, willingness to work extreme hours, building labs where ideas become products. In fact, the Tesla Model 1 DOE-S uses Edison's battery principles as part of its foundation. Musk has openly acknowledged Edison's lasting impact. Edison brought ideas to life. he didn't just dream, he built. Modern companies that trace back to Edison. Many global tech giants today have roots in Edison's work or structure. General Electric, GE, directly descended from Edison's electric company, spanned decades of leadership in energy, lighting, and medical devices, a pioneer in innovation labs and corporate R&D. Sony and RCA, both built on Edison's phonograph and sound recording technologies, advanced into radio, television, and digital sound. Warner Brothers and Hollywood. The first motion picture patents came from Edison Studios. Early filmmakers adapted or modified Edison's camera tech. Hollywood flourished from the platform Edison helped build. Panasonic, Philips, Samsung advanced Edison's electrical component designs, expanded home lighting and appliance innovations. Edison's research model and today's innovation labs. Edison was among the first to create a purpose-built research and development R&D lab. At Menlo Park and later West Orange, he assembled teams of specialists, chemists, engineers, machinists who worked collaboratively. It was a systematic, industrial approach to invention. This method was the blueprint for Bell Lab's inventors of the transistor, laser, and C programming, IBM Research, pioneers of AI, quantum computing, and databases, Google X creators of self-driving cars and balloon-powered internet, Xerox PARC birthplace of the modern GUI and Ethernet. His philosophy: to invent, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. Today's tech labs, from Amazon's Alexa division to Microsoft's AI teams, still reflect this build, break, learn environment that Edison championed. Edison's patents in the digital age. Edison's key patented technologies were analogs to today's digital world: phonograph, MP3 players, Spotify, iTunes, kinetoscope, Netflix, YouTube, VR, light bulb systems, smart homes, IoT lighting, telegraph improvements, email, texting, instant messaging, battery research, Tesla vehicles, iPhones, portable solar banks. Each of these modern products evolved from a core principle Edison had explored. He not only invented products, but product categories, an ability that continues to define the most disruptive innovators. Edison's business structures as startup DNA. Edison didn't merely invent, he commercialized. His system of vertical integration, controlling manufacturing, owning patents and distribution, building consumer demand through media, became the framework for modern corporations. Startup accelerators, venture capital firms, and tech conglomerates still follow his path. Create IP to build, prototype to scale product, to own infrastructure. Today's unicorn startups, valued at over $1 billion, owe much to this Edisonian DNA. Lessons for modern innovators. Thomas Edison's mindset offers timeless lessons. Relentless experimentation. Edison tried thousands of filament materials before perfecting the light bulb. Modern application: A. B testing, product iterations, rapid prototyping. Solving real problems. He focused on inventions people needed, not just theoretical breakthroughs. Modern application. Startups must address pain points, not just novelty. Public engagement. Edison knew how to create spectacle, hold public demos, and build demand. Modern application. Product launches, tech events, influencer marketing, team collaboration. He knew individual genius needed support from brilliant teams. Modern application. Tech leaders like Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai champion collaborative R&D cultures. Fearless failure. To Edison, failure was not defeat, it was data. Modern application. Fail fast, learn faster, startup culture. Artificial intelligence and the spirit of Edison. Edison would likely be fascinated and perhaps skeptical of AI, but his fingerprints are all over the field. pattern recognition in phonographs to basis for machine learning, system integration in lighting to concept behind neural networks, automation in factories to leads to robotics and AI-driven manufacturing, today's AI breakthroughs from ChatGPT to Tesla's autopilot follow Edison's ideal of turning science fiction into engineering reality. If Edison were alive today, he would likely be running an AI electric vehicle hybrid startup, trying to build a quantum-powered phonograph, partnering with NASA on Mars lighting systems, battling tech giants over intellectual property, sleeping in a lab with a screwdriver under his pillow. Above all, he would still be experimenting, still asking, what if? And still chasing the next great problem. There's a way to do it, better find it. Thomas Edison. The philosophical legacy Edison's views on ethics, the future, and the human spirit. The thinker behind the tools. Although Thomas Edison was known primarily as a practical inventor, beneath his engineering mindset was a philosopher, a man deeply curious about human nature, ethics, the limits of science, and the future of civilization. He rarely gave grand speeches or published treatises on philosophy, but in interviews, letters, and conversations, Edison revealed a rich, if unconventional, worldview. Edison's guiding question was always, how can invention improve human life? This foundational idea shaped his ethics, relationships, and ambitions. Edison on ethics and morality. Edison believed that science should be guided by morality, even if he wasn't religious in the traditional sense. He once said, I do not believe in the God of the theologians, but that there is a supreme intelligence I do not doubt. His ethical framework included improving daily life. He prioritized inventions that served the public light, sound, communication, and health. Avoiding harm. Edison refused to develop weapons of war, even when asked during conflict. Respect for labor. Though demanding, he believed all work had dignity from janitors to engineers. Truth through testing. He viewed honesty as embedded in the scientific process. Results don't lie. He opposed war profiteering and condemned the misuse of scientific power. Nonviolence leads to the highest ethics, which is the goal of all evolution. A naturalist spirituality. Though Edison rejected organized religion, he embraced a deep respect for nature, which bordered on spiritual awe. He was fascinated by life energy, cycles in biology, the conservation of matter and energy, the persistence of consciousness. He once mused that human beings might be living storage batteries and believed the body was animated by a subtle energy that science had yet to define. His view of death was tranquil and curious, not fearful. We don't know 1/1,000,000% about anything. Death may be a beautiful transition. Edison on the human mind and potential. Edison had immense faith in human capability. He believed that nearly every problem had a solution, given time, creativity, and perseverance. He saw the brain as a problem-solving machine, driven by willpower and repetition, a muscle that grew stronger with effort. Edison's emphasis on mental endurance was revolutionary in an age when genius was often romanticized as effortless. The chief function of the body is to carry the brain around. He believed in learning by doing and argued that failure was the only path to meaningful success. Edison and the future of humanity. Edison was not only a scientist of the present, he thought constantly about the future. He predicted renewable energy, experimenting with solar and wind ideas in the 1910 He foresaw the rise of electric vehicles and worked with Henry Ford on battery-powered transportation. He imagined a world interconnected by sound and moving pictures where people could speak across oceans. He warned of technological abuse, suggesting that ethics must guide invention or we may build our own prison. Edison once said, "The world owes nothing to any man, but every man owes something to the world." He saw science as a civic duty, not just a personal endeavor. Edison's ideas on education. Edison was skeptical of formal education, despite his own voracious reading. He criticized schools that focused on memorization, failed to teach experimentation, ignored practical knowledge. He advocated for hands-on learning, apprenticeships, access to labs and tools for all children. He personally hired workers with no degrees, basing decisions on problem-solving skills and curiosity. His model inspired STEM programs, trade schools, and even makerspaces of today. The inventor's creed, though never formally published, Edison's beliefs can be distilled into what many call the inventor's creed, built from his own writings and quotes. Work harder than anyone else. Question everything. Make something people can use. Test it, break it, fix it, repeat. Don't wait for genius. Build it. The world is your laboratory. Dreams are powered by sweat. Leave the world brighter than you found it. Edison's role in the global human story. Edison was a child of the Industrial Revolution, yet his ideas shaped the digital age. His inventions were not merely objects, they were tools of transformation. Lighting gave birth to the 24-hour city. The phonograph preserved human memory and emotion. Motion pictures reshaped global culture and empathy. Electric power created industry, comfort, and progress. More than any one invention, Edison gave humanity a new way of thinking. That change is possible if you're willing to work for it. Critics, contradictions, and complexity. Edison was no saint. He had flaws and contradictions. He could be ruthless in protecting patents. He dismissed some great minds like Tesla too quickly. He pushed employees to exhaustion. He sometimes overstated his role in discoveries, but he also admitted mistakes, learned from defeat, and evolved. Edison's humanity is what makes his story enduring. He was not a divine genius touched by fate. He was a deeply human creator, battling limits and forging forward. The enduring philosophy of Edison. Even today, the world lives by Edison's philosophy that the best ideas come from action, not theory alone. That collaboration makes invention better. That failure is data, not defeat. That imagination has value, but execution brings change. Thomas Edison didn't just change the world with wires and glass. He changed it by redefining what was possible. He proved that the future belongs to the persistent. I never did a day's work in my life. It was all fun. Thomas Alva Edison. Chronological timeline of Edison's life, inventions, and global impact, 1847-1860, early life and self-education. 1847, Thomas Alva. Edison is born on February 11-inch Milan, Ohio, the youngest of 7 children. 1854, the Edison family moves to Port Huron, Michigan. 1859, at age 12, Edison becomes a newsboy on the Grand Trunk Railroad selling newspapers and snacks. 1860, Edison begins his first chemistry experiments in the baggage car of the train and sets up a small printing press. Global context. The Industrial Revolution continues transforming transportation and communication. Telegraphs begin spreading rapidly. 1861, 1870, telegraphy and first inventions. 1862, Edison saves a young boy from a train and is rewarded with training as a telegraph operator. 1863, 1868, works as a tramp telegrapher, traveling and experimenting in dozens of cities across the U.S. and Canada. 1869, moves to New York City, where he invents the automatic vote recorder, his first patented invention. Invention highlight: 1869, U.S. patent number 90,646 electric vote recorder. 1871, 1879, Menlo Park and breakthroughs. 1880, 1871 marries Mary Stilwell. 1874 invents the quadruplex telegraph, allowing 4 messages on one wire. 1876 opens Menlo Park Laboratory, the first modern research lab. 1877 invents the phonograph, the first device to record and reproduce sound. 1879 invents a practical incandescent light bulb using a carbonized bamboo filament. Invention highlights: 1877 phonograph. 1879 incandescent électrique lampe. US patent 223 898. 1880-1889 electric power and expansion. 1880 blank forms the Edison Electric Light Company. 1882 opens the world's first electric power station on Pearl Street in New York. 1884 Mary Stilwell Edison-The. 1886 marries Mina Miller, moves into Glenmont Estate. 1887 opens the West Orange Laboratory, a more advanced research facility. Invention highlights: electrical distribution system, improvements to phonograph and electric lighting, work on alkaline storage batteries. 1890-1899 motion pictures and new ventures. 1891 invents the kinetoscope, a peephole motion picture viewer. 1892 General Electric is formed from Edison's original electric companies. 1893 builds the Black Maria, the first movie production studio. 1899 starts the Edison Portland Cement Company, begins work on large-scale cement and concrete construction. Global context: the world begins electrifying cities. Motion pictures become a cultural phenomenon. 1900-1910 industrialization and public acclaim. 1903 releases The Great Train Robbery, a milestone in American cinema, produced by Edison's studio. 1904 the Edison Medal is established. 1908-1909 begins joint projects with Henry Ford on battery-powered vehicles. 1910 begins experimenting with alternative energy sources and renewable power. Invention highlights: motion picture camera systems, sound synchronized films, early experiments, battery technology for electric cars. 1911-1920 war efforts and scientific influence. 1911 appointed to lead the U.S. Naval Consulting Board. 1913-1918 works on submarine detection, anti-torpedo tech, and naval communications. 1915 begins synthetic rubber experiments in response to war shortages. 1919 participates in public campaigns promoting science and education. Global context: World War I reorients global technology toward military use. Edison advocates for peaceful science. 1920-1929 honors friendship with Ford and final inventions. 1920 begins famous camping trips with Henry Ford, Harvey Firestone, and John Burroughs, the Vagabonds. 1923 Edison Portland Cement helps build the original Yankee Stadium. 1927-1929 celebrated as a national hero on the 50th anniversary of the light bulb. 1929 attends the Menlo Park Lab Recreation opening in Greenfield Village with Ford and President Hoover. Invention highlights: continued battery innovations, agricultural chemistry tools, plant-based alternatives for industrial materials, 1930-1931, final days and death, 1,930. Edison's health declines due to complications from diabetes and kidney problems, 193, 1 the 18th of October, dies at age 84 at Glenmont Estate, 193, 1 the 21st of October. National tribute: at 10 p.m., lights across the U.S. are turned off for 1 minute to honor him. Post 1930 et un, legacy grows, 1,932nd, 1,952nd. Dozens of schools, towns, and institutions are named after Edison. 1,962nd, 1,982nd. His inventions are studied in new fields like electronics, aerospace, and computing. 2,000 second present tech companies cite Edison as a foundational innovator. His patents are digitized and made public. 100 fascinating facts about Thomas Edison. Here are 100 intriguing, little-known, and thought-provoking facts about Thomas Alva Edison, from his personality quirks to hidden inventions, business tactics, and global influence. Early life and education. Edison was almost completely deaf by age 12 due to illness and possible injury. He had only 3 months of formal schooling. His mother homeschooled him. As a boy, he sold candy, fruit, and newspapers on trains. He created his own newspaper, the Grand Trunk Herald, at age 14. He set up a chemistry lab in a baggage car which was later destroyed by fire. He saved a child from being hit by a train, earning him his first telegraph job. He read Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by age 13. Edison was called addled, mentally slow, by a school teacher, a label that inspired his mother to teach him at home. As a child, he frequently took apart household items just to understand how they worked. He once built a miniature steam engine from scrap metal at age 10. Inventions and patents. Edison held 1,093 U.S. patents, more than any other American in his lifetime. His first patent was for an electric vote recorder in 1869. He worked on over 500 failed prototypes before perfecting the light bulb. He claimed to have tested over 6,000 different substances for filament materials. He invented the phonograph in 1877, calling it his baby. He had a machine that could talk before electricity lit homes. The phonograph inspired the birth of the music industry. Edison coined the term hello as the telephone greeting. He invented the kinetoscope, an early motion picture viewing machine. Edison's films helped establish the Hollywood film industry. Work ethic and lab life. Edison often worked 18-20 hours a day. He slept on a cot inside his lab. He took cat naps instead of full nights of sleep, often just 3-4 hours daily. His lab in Menlo Park was the first industrial research facility in the world. He had more than 100 assistants, including Nikola Tesla, briefly. He believed in testing, and testing again, even without theory. He once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." He frequently asked visitors brain-teaser questions before hiring them. He rejected the notion of genius and emphasized persistence. His motto, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." Business, industry. He founded more than 20 companies, including General Electric. He was a multimillionaire by the early 1902nd. He understood marketing and public relations, often inviting reporters to demos. He patented not just products, but entire systems and supply chains. His electric company powered Wall Street in 1882. He fought fiercely against Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse in the War of Currents. Edison helped develop the first electric chair to demonstrate the danger of AC power. He promoted direct current, DC, even as the world moved toward AC. He designed fuses, sockets, switches, and entire lighting systems. Edison once sued a competitor for using the word Edison in their product name. Media, music, and film. Edison's company filmed the first on-screen kiss, 1896. He produced more than 1,000 films, many of which have been preserved. He created the first film studio, called the Black Maria, in New Jersey. His movies included everything from scientific demonstrations to vaudeville acts. He collaborated with performers like Buffalo, Bill Cody, and Annie Oakley. He lost many early film lawsuits due to incomplete patent protection. He experimented with synchronized sound and film decades before talkies. He once said movies would be more important than books for the masses. He believed film could be used for education and science, not just entertainment. He opposed the idea of cheap culture, fearing films might be misused. Family and personality. Edison had 6 children, 3 from each marriage. He nicknamed his children Dot and Dash, like Morse code. He proposed to his second wife, Mina, in Morse code. He considered Henry Ford one of his closest friends. He liked simple clothes and hated formal wear. He enjoyed chess and word puzzles. He never fully recovered from the death of his first wife, Mary. He had a deep love of cats, especially one named Doll. He preferred fruit pies and milk over rich foods. He often made inventions to solve household problems, including a talking doll. Curiosities and philosophical views. Edison read the entire dictionary as a teenager. He hated memorization and championed hands-on learning. He once said, "Books are for people who wish they were somewhere else." He believed in a supreme intelligence, but not organized religion. He saw death as a mystery worth exploring. He believed the human brain worked like a storage battery. He disliked alcohol and rarely drank. He predicted renewable energy and solar power would be vital. He refused to invent weapons for war. He said, "Nonviolence is the highest ethic." Lesser-known inventions. Edison worked on a fruit dehydration system. He patented a concrete piano. He tried to create modular cement homes for the poor. He created a talking doll, but it was too creepy to succeed. He worked on a ghost detection machine, likely a thought experiment. He invented vote counters, stock tickers, and telegraph improvements. His electric pen later inspired the tattoo machine. He developed chemical-based hearing aids. His electric car battery almost beat gasoline. Almost. He sketched ideas for a wireless fire alarm. Global legacy. Japan celebrates Edison for using bamboo from Kyoto as filament. India's early electrical grid was based on Edison's DC systems. Over 200 schools around the world bear his name. His inventions impacted nearly every continent by 1900. Museums in DX+ countries display Edison artifacts. His notes and papers are preserved in multiple languages. A moon crater is named after Edison. He's featured in video games, novels, and even comic books. Hollywood movies often portray him as a genius, villain, or rival. His voice recordings can still be heard today. Honors and monuments. The Edison Medal is one of the most prestigious awards in science. The U.S. Navy named a research ship after him. His Menlo Park lab was rebuilt by Henry Ford in Michigan. A bronze statue of Edison stands in the U.S. Capitol. A time capsule, including Edison's recordings, was buried at the 1939 World's Fair. He received the Congressional Gold Medal in 1928. He's enshrined in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. His house at Glenmont is a National Historic Site. He was named one of the 100 most influential people of the millennium. The lights were dimmed across America when he died, a nation honoring its bringer of light. The complete list of Edison's most influential patents and their impact. Thomas Edison was awarded 1,093 U.S. patents and over 2,000 300 patents worldwide, covering a vast range of inventions across diverse industries. While many were minor improvements, others transformed entire sectors like sound, energy, film, and communication. Below is a curated list of Edison's most significant patents, organized by domain, with explanations of their modern impact. Sound recording and reproduction. US-Patent 200-521, Phonograph, Feb 19, 1878. What it did: captured sound on a tin-foil-covered cylinder and reproduced it via vibration. Impact: birth of the music industry. Led to records, CDs, streaming. Made voice recording commercially viable. U.S. Patent number 341,214, improved phonograph cylinder. What it did: allowed longer playtime, better durability. Impact: mass production of audio content. Home and public entertainment revolutionized. Electric light and power distribution. US Patent 223 898, incandescent light bulb, Jens 27 804. What it did: practical, long-lasting filament light bulb. Impact: enabled electrified cities, väsentligt energisparande industry. Reduced dependence on gas lighting, foundation for smart lighting, LEDs, and grid systems. U.S. Patent number 251,540, electric lamp socket. What it did: introduced the modern screw-type socket. Impact: still in use globally. Universal standard for light bulbs. U.S. Patent number 264,642, electrical distribution system. What it did: created a system for generating and distributing DC power. Impact: first practical electrical grid, model for urban electrification. Inspired today's smart grids and power utilities, motion pictures, and film technology. US Patent 493, 426, Kinetoscope, Ma 14, 1893. What it did: allowed individual viewers to watch short films. Impact: precursor to modern cinema. Launched Edison Studios. Inspired the commercial film industry. U.S. Patent number 589,168, film strip perforations. What it did: developed holes along film for smooth transport. Impact: essential for projectors, cameras, still used in modern analog filmmaking, batteries, and energy storage. U.S. Patent 684,204, nickel-iron alkaline storage battery. What it did: rechargeable battery for industrial use. Impact: used in early electric cars and mining equipment, foundation for battery evolution in portable tech, EVs, and solar storage. U.S. Patent number 913,272, battery improvement methods. What it did: enhanced battery durability and efficiency. Impact: paved way for safe long-life batteries. Telegraph, telephone, and communication. U.S. Patent number 90,646, electric vote recorder. Edison's first patent, the 1st of June, 1869. What it did: allowed legislatures to record votes electronically. Impact: early attempt at e-governance. Though unsuccessful, led Edison to realize market need matters. US Patent 474, 230, telephone transmitter improvements. What it did: enhanced clarity of long-distance voice calls. Impact: made long-distance telephony viable, contributed to modern telecommunications. U.S. Patent 203, 13, carbon button microphone. What it did: key component of telephone transmitter. Impact: standard in telephony for 100 years. Writing and office technology. U.S. patent number 180,857, electric pen and duplicating press. What it did. Early electric tool for stencil writing. Impact. Predecessor to the mimeograph, inspired modern tattoo machines, cement and building systems. U.S. patent number 775,600, concrete mold system for houses. What it did. Created molds for building low-cost homes entirely from cement. Impact. Influenced modular housing, prefab construction, cement used in early stadiums and roads. U.S. Patent 972 733, cement kiln improvements. What it did. Made cement production more efficient. Impact. Still informs industrial cement manufacturing today. Agriculture and materials. U.S. patent number 1,294,170, plant-based rubber process. What it did. Attempted to create synthetic rubber from goldenrod. Impact. Early solution to natural rubber shortages. Inspired later synthetic polymers and materials research, patent trends, Edison's key fields of innovation. Electric light and power, 300. Energy systems, smart grids, lighting, IoT, sound recording, 80. Music, broadcasting, voice tech, motion pictures, 75. Film, media, entertainment, telegraph communication, 150. Networking, telecom, broadcasting. Batteries, energy storage, Osuta. EVs, mobile devices, energy storage. Mining and cement, 50. Construction, infrastructure, office, industrial tools, 5. Printing, document duplication, office equipment. Agriculture, materials, 30. Biotech, sustainability, materials science, miscellaneous, 250. Toys, tools, experimental devices, Edison's patent philosophy. Total systems thinking. Edison didn't just invent products, he patented the entire ecosystem, the device, method, infrastructure, and accessories. Proactive defense. Edison aggressively filed overlapping patents to protect his inventions from imitators. Business first invention. Edison once said, "Anything that won't sell, I don't want to invent." He focused on practicality and consumer demand. Patents as leverage. Edison used his patent portfolio to control markets, negotiate mergers, and defeat competitors. Global patent influence. Edison's patent structure inspired international innovation strategies. Countries like Germany, Japan, and the UK adapted Edison's approach to research labs and intellectual property law. His patents were the foundation of international IP licensing, still used today in everything from software to pharmaceuticals. Inventions without patents. Edison chose not to patent some of his experiments, such as spiritual communication devices, some botanical chemistry work, variations of phonograph cylinders, which he published in open technical journals. Why? He believes some ideas belong to humanity, especially if they serve non-commercial or philosophical purposes. The patent that started it all. Let's remember Patent 1. U.S. Patent number 90,646, electric vote recorder, 1869. It failed commercially, but it taught Edison his most valuable business lesson. Invention alone isn't enough. Market demand is everything. Edison versus Tesla myth, reality, and rivalry revisited. Few rivalries in scientific history are as iconic or as misunderstood as that of Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. One was a pragmatic inventor-entrepreneur, the other a visionary physicist. Their clash during the War of Currents shaped how the world would be powered and created legends still debated today. Origins of the rivalry. In the 1882nd, Nikola Tesla, a young Serbian-born engineer, arrived in the United States with dreams of working for Edison. Tesla admired Edison's drive and innovation, and Edison was intrigued by Tesla's sharp intellect. Tesla joined Edison Machine Works in 1884, where he was tasked with improving Edison's direct current DC generators. According to Tesla, Edison promised him $50,000 if he succeeded a claim Edison would later dismiss as a misunderstanding or joke. Tesla eventually left after just 6 months, disillusioned and unpaid, and began developing his own ideas for alternating current, AC, a concept Edison dismissed as dangerous and impractical. War of currents, DC versus AC. At the heart of the Edison-Tesla feud was a technical disagreement. Feature Edison, DC Tesla, AC. Type of current. Edison, direct current. Unidirectional. Tesla, alternating current. Changes direction. Voltage. Edison low. Voltage systems. Tesla high. Voltage transmission. Transmission range. Edison. Short distances only. Tesla. Long distances possible. Safety concerns? Edison. Perceived safer? Low volts? Tesla. Perceived as deadly? Edison had already invested heavily in DC infrastructure, including power stations and lighting systems. Tesla, supported by George Westinghouse, promoted AC as more efficient and scalable, especially for cities and industry. Edison's propaganda campaign. Fearing that AC would destroy his electric empire, Edison launched a smear campaign against Tesla's system, held public electrocutions of animals, including a circus elephant named Topsy, using AC to prove its dangers, lobbied local governments to ban AC systems, supported the use of AC in the electric chair, hoping to associate it with death. This campaign was deeply controversial and marked one of the darkest chapters in Edison's career. Tesla's victory. Despite Edison's efforts, AC technology proved vastly superior for powering cities and factories. In 1893, Westinghouse and Tesla system was selected to power the Chicago World's Fair, a massive public demonstration of AC's reliability. Shortly after, Tesla's technology was used to construct the Niagara Falls power plant, bringing AC electricity to New York City. The war of currents was over, and Tesla had won. Different minds, different methods. The Edison-Tesla clash was not just technical, it was philosophical. While Edison built systems people used, Tesla imagined systems no one could build yet. Was there mutual respect? Despite the conflict, there's evidence that each man respected the other in private moments. Tesla once said of Edison, "If Edison had a needle to find in a haystack, he would proceed at once with the diligence of the bee. I was a sorry witness of such doings, knowing that a little theory would have saved him 90% of the labor." A backhanded compliment, but still recognition of Edison's perseverance. Edison, though more dismissive of Tesla's dreamy nature, later admitted that Tesla was a damn good electrician. Hollywood myth versus historical reality? Modern portrayals have romanticized Tesla as the tragic genius and Edison as the villainous businessman. While this makes for great drama, the reality was more complex. Edison wasn't a ruthless monster, he was a workaholic with a rigid worldview. Tesla wasn't a flawless visionary, he was brilliant but often impractical and suffered from mental health issues. Both contributed immensely to the rise of electricity in different, complementary ways. The narrative of evil Edison versus pure Tesla oversimplifies a rivalry rooted in technology, timing, and ambition. Edison won the industrial battle, but Tesla's ideas would inspire generations of futurists and scientists. A modern synthesis. Today, companies and technologies combine the strengths of both men. Tesla Inc., founded by Elon Musk, is a symbolic fusion using Tesla's AC motor principles with Edison-style system integration and branding. Google's R&D labs, Apple's product design, and NASA's exploration tech all reflect the Edison-Tesla duality, combining invention with vision and theory with application. Together, they are the yin and yang of modern innovation. What if they had worked together? One of history's great what-ifs is whether Edison and Tesla could have succeeded as collaborators. If Edison had embraced Tesla's AC system and Tesla had accepted Edison's commercial acumen, they might have created unified electric standards, accelerated the global grid by decades, formed a scientific empire, rivaling modern tech giants, but perhaps their differences were too vast. Both were stars in their own galaxies, destined to orbit, clash, and shine separately. Edison versus Tesla, a rivalry that shaped the world. The Edison-Tesla rivalry was not about ego alone. It was a collision of ideas about energy, the future, and how humanity should harness its power. In the end, the world owes light to Edison and the grid to Tesla. Two very different men, one extraordinary legacy. The world without Edison. What might have been missed? What if Thomas Edison had never existed? What if the wizard of Menlo Park had never struck a match in the dark, never heard his own voice echoed back by a tinfoil cylinder, never electrified the cities of the world? This thought experiment reveals just how much modern life owes to Edison's inventions, systems, and mindset. Let's explore what we might have lost and how the world would have been very different. A darker world delayed electrification. Without Edison, electric lighting may have arrived decades later or not as safely and efficiently. Homes and cities might have relied on gas lamps, candles, and kerosene well into the 20th century. Nightlife, 24-hour industry, and electric appliances would have been delayed or developed differently. Edison's brilliance wasn't just the bulb, it was the whole system: generation, distribution, switches, sockets, safety, and maintenance. Without Edison's electric ecosystem, there would be no universal light switch, no standardized grid, and no consistent voltage. No phonograph, the soundless century. The phonograph, invented in 1877, gave humanity its first taste of recorded sound. If Edison hadn't created it, music would remain live only for years or decades longer. No records, no radios, no CDs, no podcasts, no Spotify. There would be no audio archiving of voices, speeches, or historic soundscapes. Edison's phonograph paved the way for telephony, broadcasting, dictation, audiobooks, and voice-based AI. Its absence would leave the 20th century silent and disconnected. Motion pictures, the delayed dream factory. Edison's kinetoscope, studios, and early cameras helped build the film industry. Without him, Hollywood's rise would be slower or differently shaped. There might be no standard for frame rates, perforated film, or studio workflows. The concept of film as mass entertainment might have lagged far behind. Many early pioneers, including the Lumiere brothers and George Méliès, built upon Edison's foundational systems. A world without Edison might have never seen Chaplin, Hitchcock, Spielberg, or Pixar, or at least not as soon. Fragmented electrical systems. Without Edison's unified DC lighting systems, we might have seen regional power standards with incompatible sockets and voltages, no standard for light bulbs, wiring, or circuit protection, a slower rollout of electrification in rural areas. His vision of an electrical utility, not just invention, inspired today's grid infrastructure, public lighting, and home energy delivery. No foundation for battery-powered devices. Though he didn't invent the first battery, Edison revolutionized rechargeable energy with the nickel-iron battery. Without him, early electric vehicles might never have gained traction. Rechargeable systems for railway signals, submarines, and tools would be missing. There would be no groundwork for portable electronics, phones, or solar storage. No Edison equals no electric car experimentation, equals no Tesla Roadster, no iPhone, no mobile freedom as we know it. No research lab model. Edison's Menlo Park lab pioneered the concept of applied science in teams. Without it, no R&D departments in corporations. Innovation might remain in isolated inventor garages or academic circles. Products would lack system integration between scientists, engineers, and manufacturers. This model later inspired Bell Labs, IBM Research, Xerox PARC, Google X, and more. Delayed telecommunications advances. Edison improved Alexander Graham Bell's telephone transmitter, making it commercially viable. Without him, early telephones would have been weaker, fuzzier, and less marketable. Widespread phone adoption might have slowed. Long-distance voice communication would be less reliable. In addition, his inventions in telegraphy helped standardize communication long before email. Delays in affordable housing and infrastructure. Edison's work on concrete housing, modular furniture, and low-cost construction may have failed commercially, but influenced later efforts in prefab housing, urban planning, concrete stadiums and roads. Without Edison's experimentation, we might have waited longer for affordable, rapid-build structures, especially during urbanization waves. A different educational landscape. Edison's story has inspired generations of inventors, scientists, and entrepreneurs. If he had never existed, schools might lack the symbol of the self-made genius. STEM education would miss a powerful narrative for hands-on learning. Maker spaces, robotics clubs, and tinker labs might not exist in their current form. Edison was not just an inventor, he was a symbol of what's possible without formal education. No cultural icon of persistence. Thomas Edison is more than a person, he is a metaphor for never giving up, for learning from failure, for trusting experimentation over opinion, for believing in progress no matter how slow. Without Edison, the world would lack a hero archetype that ties invention to grit, not privilege. The true cost of a missing Edison. Millions of homes would have gone without light. Generations of musicians might never have recorded a note. Entire industries from film to telecom might have taken another generation to emerge. The entrepreneurial model of the inventor-founder might have never been born. The world would have fewer symbols of human tenacity and resilience. What we would have missed most. To invent, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. Edison, what the world would truly lose without Edison is not just the inventions, but the attitude. That you can learn outside school, that failure isn't fatal. That progress is messy, slow, and hard, but worth it. That one person with relentless curiosity can reshape the world. Final reflections, what Edison still teaches us today. More than 90 years after his death, Thomas Alva Edison remains a towering figure in science, technology, and innovation. His ideas helped illuminate the world literally and figuratively, and his methods, mindset, and legacy continue to inspire inventors, entrepreneurs, educators, and dreamers. But beyond patents, light bulbs, and phonographs, what does Edison still teach us today? The value of relentless iteration. Edison's greatest strength was not flashes of genius, it was persistence. He believed that success was a process, not an accident. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. In a world obsessed with speed, Edison reminds us to embrace repetition, embrace the grind, and treat every failure as another step forward. Modern innovators, from Silicon Valley engineers to medical researchers, thrive when they adopt Edison's mindset: try, fail, learn, repeat. Invention is a team sport. Though Edison is often remembered as a lone genius, he built and led one of the first collaborative research labs in history. Chemists, machinists, draftsmen, and engineers worked side by side. Ideas were refined through team feedback, and prototyping. His labs laid the groundwork for modern tech companies and research divisions. Today, the best innovations still emerge from interdisciplinary teams, just like the ones Edison assembled at Menlo Park and West Orange. Focus on practical solutions. Edison didn't chase abstract theories. He created tools people could use. His inventions served real needs, from home lighting to voice recording to energy storage. Anything that won't sell, I don't want to invent. This wasn't greed, it was about impact. He understood that an invention unused is an invention wasted. In today's landscape of cutting-edge research and futuristic startups, Edison teaches us to balance imagination with utility. Education is not a prerequisite for genius. Edison had no formal degree and only 3 months of conventional schooling, but he became one of the most influential minds in history. His story validates self-directed learning, curiosity as fuel, hands-on experimentation over memorization. He remains a beacon for non-traditional learners, proving that passion and persistence can outweigh credentials. Innovation has ethical implications. Edison believed in technology for good. Though not without controversy, he avoided inventing weapons and emphasized solutions that improve daily life. In a world facing ethical challenges in AI, biotechnology, and surveillance, Edison's restraint reminds us science must be guided by conscience. Power must serve the public good. Inventors must be accountable for how their creations are used. The future belongs to the bold. Edison imagined a world powered by electricity, a future with recorded voices and moving pictures, instant communication across great distances. At the time, these were radical dreams, but Edison bet on the future and then built it. In today's age of climate change, space exploration, and artificial intelligence, Edison challenges us to, there's a way to do it, better find it. Work can be joyful. To Edison, invention wasn't just labor, it was play. He often said, I never did a day's work in my life, it was all fun. He created spaces where people could tinker, explore, laugh, and experiment. He found meaning not in rest, but in doing what he loved. His example reminds us to seek careers that blend curiosity, purpose, creativity, service. Failure is the only path to success. Edison's light bulb didn't emerge in a flash. It emerged from thousands of failed attempts. Today, in startup culture and education, we talk about growth, mindset, resilience, and failing fast. Edison lived these ideas before they had names. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. This mindset is timeless and essential. Legacy is built through impact. Edison didn't aim to be famous, he aimed to be useful. His inventions changed how we light our homes, hear music, watch movies, communicate, store energy, solve problems. That's legacy. Not the name on a building, but the difference in daily life his ideas still make. Light the next candle. Perhaps the most poetic lesson of Edison's life is that every person can bring light to the world, whether with an invention, an idea, or an example of courage. He did not begin rich, healthy, or well-educated. He began curious. He stayed determined. To invent, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. We all have a little imagination. We all have a pile of something. Edison teaches us to start there and see how far we can go. Thomas Edison was not perfect. He was flawed, complex, driven, and at times ruthless. But his life tells a story we still need to hear. That impossible is temporary. That curiosity can change the world. That the future is built by those who refuse to quit. His inventions helped define the 19th and 20th centuries. His philosophy may yet define the 21st. Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. Thomas Alva Edison.